In this video, we'll go over some programming under the general setting for the app. So we go to settings and we click on general, and you'll see a variety of things here. Most of these we just leave at factory defaults, but I'll go through all of them. We have enable low voltage ride through and enable anti-islanding. These are for grid connection, for controlling when it disconnects from the grid. We should leave those turned on if we are grid connected. PV insulation resistance protection point and PV leakage current protection point. These have to do with the ground fault sensing for the PV array. Generally, we'll leave these at the default settings. Sometimes, if you've got like old leaky panels, especially some of the thin film ones, you can have higher leakage and may need to adjust these. Another thing that can cause problems with these is if you have not grounded the frames of the PV array back to the same ground as the inverter. Because this operates as a high voltage PV array, it can develop a static charge on the frames of the panels, which, besides for being a safety hazard, can lead to excessive current leakage through the glass to the cells of the panel. So we want to make sure we've got our frames of our PV array grounded correctly to prevent that. D-rate setting, just leave that as default. Grid voltage time. Generally, UL split phase is what we want to leave that at. That's 120, 240 volt standard US power. Single phase means 230 volts line to neutral and only one hot leg. This is European style power. Don't do this in the US if you want to use 120 volt appliances, because it will blow them up. You want UL split phase, which is standard 120, 240. If you're stacking 3 inverters to make 3-phase system, then you'll use the UL 2/3 phase and need 3 inverters spread around the 3 phases. Parallel to single 3-phase system. This is for when you're doing 3-phase stacking, which one it is on the 3 phases. Buzzer, generally leave that off. That will just make the inverter make more noises, beeps as it does different things. DRM function, I'm not actually sure what that is, but leave that off. Parallel mode, that is if you're stacking inverters and have more than one of them working in parallel, you'll want to turn that on. And there's also a bunch of hardware settings you'll need to do and hook up the paralleling cables. But otherwise, if it's a single inverter, leave that off. Parallel system battery connect type. Almost always this should be battery connect parallel. If you have multiple batteries, they should all be connected in parallel. And only in very odd certain circumstances do you want battery connect independent, where you might have multiple inverters and each inverter has a separate battery bank. If you end up in a situation where you think that might be the case, contact support and we can run you through that. But in general, you always want to have all your batteries connected in parallel and keep this on the default, which is battery connect parallel. And that finishes the general settings.